I started out at Western Michigan University after graduating in 2006. And I went there initially because nobody in my family had gone there. I had family and relatives that had either taught or attended CMU in Northern Michigan, and Western just seemed like a unique place. I didn't know anything about Kalamazoo, and I wanted to get away from Northern Michigan. So that's why I attended that. And eventually I transferred to University of Michigan my junior year. No. My best friend attended the University of Michigan, and initially I didn't think that U of M would be a good fit or that I could get in, but he encouraged me to apply, and it worked out. And going to Ann Arbor and to U of M changed my life. It was a great experience. Right. So this is the main reason that I wanted to conduct this interview, is that I took a non-traditional path to go into Michigan, and there's sort of an aura, if you will, that U of M is difficult to get into, impossible. You know, only children of doctors go to U of M and things like that, but it's not true. You know, my family didn't have tons of money or anything like that, and I was a very average student in high school, but I found out that college just worked better for me. So transferring to U of M was great because I just did better at Western, had better grades, and ultimately when U of M was looking at admitting me, they only based it on my college transcript. So that was a big thing, was that I kind of got a clean slate. They just looked at my grades from Western for 2 years. They basically threw out my ACT. It was the ACT, not the SAT back then. So my ACT score got thrown out. And so it was just good letters of recommendation, the grades that you had done 2 years at Western, and then, really not much else. I mean, it was the essays, recommendation, and U of M gave me 1 point because my grandfather had attended U of M. So that's something that's sort of a little secret, is that certain colleges will give you credit based on alumni status too. So all that came together, and I was able to do that. So that's the main reason that I decided to, talk about that today, is just that that's a non-traditional path. And if you want to go somewhere else, anywhere, even out of state, you are not bound to the college that you initially attend. Like, you can go somewhere else particularly if you attend or you do well early on. So, yeah. I think it's important to establish what your talents are. And I mean, that is why it can seem like high school pushes assessments and things like that. You know, what are your talents? What are your skills? But you're making a huge investment in when you go to college. So you really want to focus on what are your interests and what are your strengths, right? And so making that decision early on. You don't have to make the decision right away freshman year, right? They'll encourage you to be undeclared, and that can seem like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just taking these general classes. But, I would recommend giving it some time, right? You don't have to declare right away, and you can get some gen ed credits down, and then within 2 or 3 years, you can make a decision and hopefully go into something that you want. I think there are many paths. I think what I always say in the speech that I try to give my students is, if you have an idea of what you want to do and a pretty firm idea that I want to work even in a certain field, right? Maybe your parents are in medicine and you want to stay in medicine because they had a good career, or you're interested in teaching, or you're interested in law or medicine. Even if you have a general sense of that, go in that direction, right? If you feel like I have no idea at all, I would actually recommend. There are lots of different ways. So you can go to community college, you can, look into the trades basically, because I do have friends that have attended the University of Michigan and now basically are working in, production, manufacturing, things like that. They have a good life and a good career, but they could have gone to trade school and done that as well, right? And they sort of just took also a non-traditional path. They have a bachelor's degree, but really they've made a good life for themselves without really using that bachelor's degree too. So what that boils down to is, if you know what you want and you know what you're about, definitely embrace going to college. But if you don't, take the time and think about it for a while before you commit to that. There's nothing wrong with taking a year and doing something else, So the thing to note, I think, about getting involved in college is the college experience is what you invest into it, right? If you want to be a commuter student and you just want to attend classes and you say, I don't want to be involved in college, you can still get a degree and say that you went to college and check that box. But if you want the traditional college experience, going to the football games, getting involved in activities on campus, the opportunities are really endless, like truly endless. And I was involved in a few things at U of M in terms of community organizations and things like that. When I transferred to Michigan, the opportunities multiplied by like factor of 3. Like, it was a big experience. One unique thing about me is when I transferred to Michigan, they didn't make me live in the dorms. I was actually able to live in cooperative housing. So that is student-owned housing in the city of Ann Arbor. So that is, instead of paying rent, you basically pay a certain fee, and then you own a share of the housing, and all the decisions are cooperatively made by students in that housing, basically. So you are assigned chores, but they also order food. The students make meals together, and Ann Arbor's kind of an expensive place to live, so if you don't have that much money, it can be a good way to save money on your own. And kind of the idea is that students work together to cover the costs and cover food costs and things like that. And so it's a great way for students who traditionally might have to live on their own in an apartment, or you might have to kind of cobble together with some group of friends, that you can just join this organization. They'll assign you a room or a roommate, whatever you like. You can work that out with them, and then you get, relatively speaking, cheap rent, good food, and you're part of a community, and they do activities together as well and plan things together. So the co-op system at U of M and MSU is kind of a unique thing, but there are different versions of that in college campuses across Michigan as well. I mean, I have student loans, but my parents did help me out. It was a mix between getting some help from relatives and also taking out student loans and also working during the summers. If you're a kid in Northern Michigan, everybody has a summer job, and so you try to bank as much money as possible. If you're a kid in Northern Michigan, you definitely have a summer job. Maybe work 2 jobs and bank some money away. And then I was fortunate enough that, my mom in particular sat me down, and the first year I was at Western, she said, I want you to go and have fun and have a good time, and do well, but you need to treat this as though it's your full-time job, right? Your opportunity to go to college is your job right now, so I want you to take that level of seriousness to it. So I took that to heart, because I did appreciate my parents helping me out, and I knew that it was a big commitment.